Lancaster City Council meeting. City Clerk, call the roll, please.
City Council Member, Agency Director, Authority Member Doris. Absent. Molly.
Present.
Mann.
Present.
Vice Mayor, Vice Chairman Christ.
Present.
Mayor, Chairman Paris.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. And the invocation tonight will be Danny Bardalis, right? Not here? Who wants to lead the invocation? Now, with this many people here, there has to be somebody who's willing to come up here and open our meeting with a prayer. Thank you.
Hello, distinguished members and Your Honor, haven't seen you in a while. Dear Lord, we come to you today. We thank you for giving us another opportunity to do your will. Father, we ask that you continue to bless and guide the council, that they make fair and honest decisions. We ask that they consider everybody in the city and everybody in the county when they're making these decisions. Father, we thank you and we praise you for allowing us the opportunity to come together as a community. And we thank you for the mayor and the city council. Ask that you continue to lead and bless and guide them, that they can do right, honest, fair, and sound judgment according to your will. We ask this, Father, in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Thank you very much.
Sure, if everybody would face the flag, put your right hand over your heart and repeat with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
City Manager, anything to be removed?
No, sir.
And we have a presentation from Parks Make Life Better month.
Sonia will be handling it.
How much better, Sonia?
Tremendously better.
Good answer.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you tonight about my favorite month, which is July. July is Parks Make Life Better month. Tongue twister there. So, Parks Make Life Better is a campaign to raise awareness of the many benefits of parks and recreation. Parks are more than just green spaces. They are places where people can come together to play, exercise, connect with nature, and build community. In our city, we are very fortunate to not only have the traditional parks and recreation, but also arts and community services, which makes up your Parks Department. So we spell it PARCS as the acronym for Parks, Arts, Recreation, and Community Services. In celebration of Parks Make Life Better Month, I'd like to take this opportunity to share with you how your parks, programs, and staff contribute to make our community healthier, happier, and more connected, ultimately contributing to a positive quality of life for our residents. So, first, our Parks and Facilities team. That's our mighty Parks and Facilities team right there. This team is responsible for maintaining 12 parks, the stadium, and the Prime Desert Woodlands Preserve. This totals 514 acres of parkland, of which 221 acres are open space and 114 acres are sports fields. That is a lot of turf and open space to maintain. In addition, they are responsible for the maintenance of 8 park activity buildings, City Hall, LPAC, MOA, the Community Center, and 2 pools. They are the team that keeps the department operating literally from the ground up. So, our Lancaster Performing Arts Center. LPAC hosted a wide variety of programs this past year. There were 25 season shows, 10 of which were sold out. The Arts for Youth program provided over 8,600 local students in 67 schools with opportunity to enjoy 24 theater performances. There were also 20 company and residence performances by 4 local groups. The LPAC team diligently works to ensure there's a little bit of something for everybody in regards to entertainment for Lancaster. our arts and museums. The Arts and Museums team oversees the Lancaster Museum of Arts and History, fondly known as MOA, the Prime Desert Woodland Preserve, the Lise Clifford Interpretive Center, Cedar Complex for the Arts, and the Western Hotel Museum. These facilities combined this year had an attendance of over 10,000 guests. The specialized programs in each of these facilities includes tours, moonwalks, discovery trunks, young artist workshops, and sensory-friendly programs. MOA also hosted the biannual Antelope Valley Walls Festival, bringing an additional 14 public art murals to the city this past year, as well as a new festival to celebrate arts and culture in downtown. The MOA team is dedicated to enriching our community through the arts and history. And next, we have our recreation team. The Recreation Division encompasses everything from park rentals, special classes, aquatics, batting cages, youth and adult sports, and tournaments to our beloved special events. As you can see on this slide, through these programs, we provide recreation opportunities for over 150,000 people annually, with a high level of economic impact through our sports tournaments. The recreation team brings the fun and provides families the opportunity to make memories while enjoying our parks and programs. In our community,
Go back.
of course.
The 125, is that net or gross?
That's gross. That's our revenue, just from
So-
batting cages.
Is it operating at a profit or
I have to run the numbers, but that's pretty, yeah, because of the amount of staffing, we're pretty close to being at least breaking even, if not making a little profit there.
all right, great, thank you.
You're welcome. So our community services team. The community services team oversees the community center, community service programs, community homes, and youth enrichment programs. Lancaster's community center's focus is on purpose, place, and passion. In its first full year of operation, it has had a total attendance of over 7,500 people. You asked me that last council meeting. I'd have the answer, have it for you today. Formed collaboratives with over 20 organizations, increased access to education and job training, improved health and well-being through a variety of programs, as well as strengthened community bonds with programs that have brought people together from all walks of life. Through the community service programs, the division fosters homeless prevention through job training, housing, and financial assistance and meals. The community homes aim to promote, strengthen, and mobilize the community with a neighborhood-based, multi-service approach to provide education, health, recreation, and other social service programs that connect people and empower them to keep neighborhoods resilient and thriving for all. Combined, the homes have served over 16,000 individuals and families. The community services team provides much needed assistance to families and individuals, striving to provide programs and resources that better their lives and increase resiliency. The Parks Department thanks you for your investment in our department, which allows us to provide parks, programs, events, and facilities that make life better for our residents. And last but not least, I'd like to send a big thank you and acknowledgement to the Parks team, many of them who are here tonight, in support of the Parks Make Life Better month, for their dedication and service to the community. They are truly a powerhouse team who make everything presented tonight and more possible. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So that's why you're all here.
I brought the team.
You guys do an amazing job. Thank you. Thank you, Susan.
Picture with the mayor.
You're welcome.
Why would anybody want their picture with me?
That's what I told him.
Let's do it.
We love to have your picture with Mayor. Come on up, team.
Thank you,
I
sir.
didn't write it in immediately. line up by height so we can, yes, exactly. Can we try to line up by clustered? Yeah. Come on in, folks. Come on in. Line up by height. You know who you are. Perfect. There we go. Okay, I can see you now. There we go. Perfect. Make sure that our front row ends. Can we do a little cute? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
We have booster meeting.
Be there.
Yes, I am. I just wanted to make sure.
It's an election year, you need those photos.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, moving on to the consent calendar. We're good to go with it?
Yes.
Any speaker cards?
No,
Is there a motion?
I'll move the SACC 1.
I'll second that motion.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. New business, item 1, ethics training. What, did I miss
We
one?
still need to do the city council consent agenda. We
Yeah.
did the successor agency, but now we need to do city council.
Oh, you'd think I'd figured this out by now. Anything to be removed from the city council consent calendar?
No, sir.
Any speaker cards?
None.
Is there a motion?
I'll move the consent calendar as currently comprised.
Is there a second?
Second that?
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Now can I move on to new button? Okay. Good. So Ken, I want you to pay attention to this.
Okay. Well, I've done my 3-hour requirement, but I think it's up to date. It's only about a year old, but we can go through it again.
Just messing with you.
We can go through it again.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. I am here tonight to go over with you some of the duties and responsibilities and ethical requirements associated with your role as city council members and the roles of many of us in this room as city officials. And I need to advance. There we go. So I will be discussing the ethics training requirement under the SB 1234 requirements, conflicts of interest, including financial conflicts of interest, incompatible offices and activities, as well as common law conflicts of interest, as well as the Public Records Act and how it impacts each of you. Currently, my computer is frozen, so this is going to be more fun. All right, so ethics training. Because the city provides compensation to its elected officials for their service to the city, they're required to complete 2 hours, you are each required to complete 2 hours of ethics training every 2 years, and your first training needs to be completed within 1 year of taking office. And this training is available online through the Fair Political Practices Commission website. Hopefully, my computer's going to start working. All right. So conflicts of interest. As an overarching requirement, it's the duty of every public official to exercise good faith and diligence, even in the absence of an express provision on a subject. Public officer is obligated by the virtue of the office to discharge your responsibilities with integrity and fidelity to the city, with disinterested zeal and diligence for the benefit of the public. So that's the overarching and guiding principle on which we proceed. And my computer has died. So I shall now wing it. The Fair Political Practices Act sets forth an 8-step test for determining if a public official has a conflict of interest. That test is set up on this slide, and I'm still trying to make my computer work. The first question is the individual in question a public official? The answer for that question for you is yes. You are all public officials, as am I, as are these lovely folks over here. The second step in the test is, are you making a governmental decision? Anytime an item comes before the council, you are making a governmental decision. If you are providing direction, you are making a governmental decision. So all of these duties and requirements apply when you are acting in your capacity as a council member. Let's see if I can get this thing to work. No, I cannot. The next step is, do you have one of the 6, pardon, qualifying types?
They're making fun of my eyes.
Oh, well, I'm going to have to keep turning to the side because mine won't advance on my computer, so this is going to be fun. Do you have one of the 6 qualifying types of economic interest? And those interests include, and to backtrack for just a moment, the purpose of tonight's presentation is not to make you experts on conflicts of interest. Rather, it is to provide you with the information and background you need to know when to ask questions and to stop and consider whether you have a conflict that requires recusal so that you can seek advice and get direction so that you keep yourself, of course, and always above board. All right. Nope, still no go. All right, so 6 qualifying types of economic interest. I'm going to try and do it from memory because my notes are not showing up. They are real property interests,
Okay.
business interests, gifts, personal finances, and they won't come up. I can't remember the rest of them off the top of my head. It's just not working. I am very sorry.
I hate it when that happens to me.
Give me just a second, if you don't mind. I'm so sorry.
Blame it on the
Do you want to
IT
do
guy.
public comment while I try and get this functional?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you want to do public comment while I try and get this functional? Or do you want to, just so that I'm not wasting your time? I don't want to waste your time. I hate.
Does your computer work better at your station?
It was working earlier. I closed it and then I opened it and it got angry at me. We can probably reboot it, yes?
Always off, then on,
Yes.
first step.
Yes. Okay. Actually, it's.
Okay.
All right. Let me see if I can do this from my phone, which is super fun.
You got a bunch of speaker cards? What about this?
Nope.
No. These are all non-agenda.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
The notes aren't showing up.
No, we have to have speakers on this ethics training.
All right.
Do you want to do public comment while I try and make this thing work? My apologies.
It's exactly the same.
So we got real property, business interests, gifts, personal. What's the personal?
Personal finances.
What does that mean?
That means your personal investments and the like. So if you have an investment in a stock or a bond or a company, that would be a personal finances.
So we couldn't vote on that.
You would not be able to vote on something that would impact your personal finances, correct?
How fine do they cut that?
Well, there are
I mean,
standards for.
if I have shares in Hathaway,
Right.
right?
Right,
Berkshire
so
Hathaway.
if you have shares in Berkshire Hathaway, it would be an economic interest. However, the likelihood of something done here at the city having a material impact on that investment is very low, right? So for example, if we were taking an action to approve a CUP or some such for a Berkshire Hathaway project, then the likelihood of that impacting the bottom line of Berkshire Hathaway is extremely low, right? So that we would get to that in one of the next steps. Okay,
So
and I'm back up.
The one you skipped over was income.
I got it. I've got it.
Talk to me about income.
I'm sorry?
The one you missed was income.
So investments in business entities, interests in real property, sources of income, so $500 or more within 12 months of the decision-making, sources of gifts and their agents or intermediaries, ooh, that's a good one, aggregating $250 or more in the 12 months preceding the decision, positions with business organizations, and personal finances. Those are the 6 topics. So if one of the 6 qualifying types of economic interests exist, then the next question is the interest direct or indirect? So for example, if your employer is before the city council to seek a CUP, that is a direct interest, right? That is a direct impact on your employer, which is a source of income.
I think we knew somebody in Palmdale that had that issue, but go on.
I'm going to not comment on that. So that is a direct impact. An indirect is, for example, if the council was considering an ordinance that might affect your employer, but it's not your employer who's in front of the council, right? So that's the direct or indirect. The next question is, will the decision have a material financial impact or effect on the economic interest? And that's where the materiality Berkshire Hathaway question you asked, Mr. Mayor, comes up. Materiality is presumed if your economic interest is directly involved in the governmental decision. But when it's indirectly involved, there is a whole series of threshold tests that I am not going to get into tonight. But if you are in a situation where an economic interest of yours might be affected by a decision of the council, that's a time to give a call, have a conversation, take a look at those thresholds, and we'll figure it out. Okay? If a conflict, then is it reasonably foreseeable that the economic interest will be materially affected? That's also points to the Berkshire Hathaway question you asked, Mr. Mayor. If a decision here in Lancaster is made for or against whatever is before the council, it is unlikely to affect the standing of Berkshire Hathaway, their stock price, the value of your interest. And that's where you probably would fall out of the analysis in the Berkshire Hathaway situation. However, if it's your employer is, let's go with restaurant. If your employer is a restaurant and they're coming before the council for a CUP, and if that CUP is not granted, that will have a devastating effect on that restaurant, that would be a material impact. So that's the standard we look at and we consider in the course of the analysis. The next question is the effect on the interest distinguishable from the effect on the public generally? This is what we sometimes talk about as the public generally exception. We talk about it when we're when the council's considering decisions that are citywide. They have a citywide effect. You know, we're going to establish an ordinance that affects the entire city equally. And the question is, do your interests, are they materially affected in a different way than the rest of the public? And if your interests are just the same as everybody else's, then it's considered a non-conflict or a non-interest, and you can proceed to participate in that decision. And then the final question, and this is the rule of necessity, the final question is the official's participation nonetheless legally required? So the business of the city doesn't stop just because of a conflict, right? So the rule of necessity is the action of the council member necessary for the city's business to proceed? So we have had this come up on occasion where we've had 3 council members who have had a conflict. And so we do a drawing of straws or picking of numbers or some method of chance to determine who will, despite the conflict, continue to participate with regard to that topic. And once we do the rule of necessity determination for a topic, for example, Medical Main Street, the person who draws, we usually use the short straw, so the person who draws the short straw continues to participate on that topic until it is complete. We don't draw new straws every time. We do it once, and that person is designated for the duration of that topic, project, or issue. Do you have any questions on the 8-step test?
Yeah, I want you to give me some examples.
Sure.
So, say I have a charity.
So you have a what?
A charity I'm interested in,
Yes.
and somebody wants something from us as a city council, and they give money to the charity I'm interested in. How do we handle that?
That would be a quid pro quo or potential bribery circumstance. That would be improper, possibly criminal, and should not be done.
Even if I'm not getting anything from the charity?
If it is to influence a decision-making, that can be a criminal offense.
Well, what if the person giving the money has an interest in the charity also, has been a member of it for a long time? And
Well, if the person giving money to the charity, so it would be improper for an official, elected or appointed, to say, if you give to my charity, you'll get my vote. That is improper. And we're going to get into some other statutes that beyond the 8-step test in just a second, but the use of contributions, direct or indirect, for the benefit of the official is improper if it's to influence decision-making.
okay, so there's 2 prongs to that, is what I'm hearing. Mm-hmm. One, if you're getting money from that charity.
Right. If you're getting paid by that charity, then
That's absolutely not something.
absolutely not okay. Now, if you are participating in a charity, for example, you sit on the board, but you receive no compensation or other monetary benefit of any kind, then you're probably out of the realm of the problem. But you also can't be saying, hey, give $5,000 to my charity and I'll vote for your project. That's
Yeah, but
literal
it's
quid
never-
pro quo.
let's-
That it
let's
can't
be-
happen.
Let's be honest about that. That never happens.
That would be
It's
exceedingly
It's like when Marvin
unwise.
was a young man and wore young man's clothes, right? He would meet a young woman and he'd say, do you want to see my house, right? She'd say yes or no.
Yes.
I mean, that's,
Yeah.
it's kind of a crude way of saying it, but that's really how this happens.
Right.
So how does this council know what to do in regards to that?
With regard to someone trying to influence by donating,
See, what I would like to accomplish from all this is I'd like us to be very clear. And I'd like us to have a procedure in place that there's no excuse for any one of us not to have gotten an answer
Right,
before any type of transaction took place.
right. So
Sorry about that.
if,
I
so
did wear a younger man's clothes once.
the
I knew
key,
him. He was
right?
Much different.
The key is to be
Back when he had
alert,
color in his hair.
alert to the issues
Yeah.
and to bring them forward before decisions are made. To come and ask the questions. That's the reason for this presentation, to give you the tools and the understanding to make sure you know when there are circumstances where you might have a problem and you do need to ask the question. Right? That's what this is for, so that we can make sure that, and the only people who can know what your interests are you, right? That is not something I can know. Sometimes I spot them, sometimes, and you know, I've done it, I think, for each of you, where I said, hey, you know, I think you might want to look at this, let's make sure, and let's run through the analysis and make sure that everything is all set for
Do
you.
you keep a record of when people ask?
I have not historically, but I could.
We should explore that.
Okay,
I just don't want any revisionist history.
sure, sure. I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, I can absolutely track
Now,
that.
in regards to gifts, we just give them to the city and we're good, right?
Right, and if you're, with regard to gifts, if you know, personal gifts, for example, I'll use myself as an example. I was a deputy city attorney at the time I got married. I received wedding gifts. Those wedding gifts, to the extent my community property interest exceeded $50, were reportable unless, in a like circumstance, I would give an equal gift back to the person who gave to me. So, for example, longtime family friend, I've known since I was yay high, gave a gift whose value exceeded $100, so my community property interest was more than $50. But in a like circumstance, I would have given an equal gift to that family friend. That is not a reportable gift. But if you find yourself in a circumstance where you're receiving gifts from not family members, longtime family friends, where you would be
members are okay.
doing a reciprocal arrangement,
Family members are okay?
family members are okay.
So when my kids give me a gift, I don't have to give it to the city?
You do not.
Kids give you gifts?
He asked
Yeah,
if
they
your
gave me-
kids
they
give
gave
you
me this
gifts.
Lumi, it's called, you know, and you take all of your garbage.
I have one too. They're
Aren't those
cool.
really cool?
They're
Yeah,
really cool.
right.
Yeah.
You put all your garbage
Organics.
after you cook dinner in, and it turns it into compost.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I'm, you know, it's like a hobby I have, turning stuff into compost.
My flowers have never been happier. All right, so that's the 8-step test for a conflict under the Fair Political Practices Act. There are other codes that affect decision-making and whether you should be participating in the like. So if you do have a conflict, forgot the last item, most importantly, if you have a conflict, you need to announce it in the public session and then step out and not participate in the decision-making. And you guys do that very well and regularly, and make sure that you, of course, announce your conflict and step out. And if there is a circumstance where we're using the rule of necessity, then the council member who is selected to participate nonetheless still has to announce the conflict, but they remain so that the business of the city can continue, so that we have a quorum. And also, just as a reminder, absence of a council member doesn't create necessity. It has to be a true conflict among 3 council members on our 5-member council in order to invoke the rule of necessity.
Okay.
Okay?
Anybody got any questions?
So as long as you don't have a quid pro quo, or you're getting something or you're giving something to the individual, say if it's a charity, because we do a lot of charitable work.
Absolutely.
And if I'm not asking for the individual to donate, and I'm not telling him they're going to get anything,
Right.
then that's okay.
As long as you're not wink, wink, nod, nod, saying they're going to get something,
Well,
right?
That's, I would assume, telling
Yeah,
them.
yeah, telling him or implying or in any way,
Okay, if there's no implication at all.
right, a
it
no,
just- I'll give you an example. We have sheriff boosters.
right,
So a sheriff boosters, we have 35 members.
right,
One of those members asks a developer to donate.
Right.
He donates. I know nothing about it. I have no part of it.
okay,
He donates. I'm good.
you're good.
What if he did not?
If he did know and sought the donation, and then that person came before the council, that would be a conversation to be had. Well, then we got to look into materiality and all the other tests to determine. But if you were not involved in that
In the
request,
solicitation.
in the solicitation, or even, aware that it was happening, other than when it showed up on the spreadsheet, for example, if you're on the board, then no.
So let's assume that he was drawing a salary from the boosters.
Then it's a financial interest. That's a source of income.
Okay,
That's a different scenario entirely,
all right.
okay?
Which, for the record, I'm not.
I know.
Right. Need to apply that.
Let's make it clear for everybody else. All right.
All right.
So then we have common law conflicts of interest. This is what I refer to as the looks like a duck, quacks like a duck. A public official is required to exercise the powers conferred on them with disinterested skill, zeal, and diligence for the benefit of the public. This is the integrity and fidelity. This is the circumstance where the FPPC regs may not call out precisely the circumstance you're in, but we all look at it and it smells bad. And so, for example, technically an adult child who's independent of you is not a financial interest. But man, it looks poor when that child is standing in front of the council asking for a CUP on their liquor store, right? That I would encourage recusal in that circumstance. We want to avoid even the appearance of impropriety, right? And that's the looks like a duck, quacks like a duck. Common law, conflict of interest. All right. Next, we've got penal code violations.
Go back to those other two.
Yeah. Oh, Form 700, sorry. The Form 700 is your statement of economic interest. You all enjoy the privilege, along with me and the other senior management, of filling out a Form 700 annually. We file it by April 1st of each year, and in it you are required to disclose your various economic interests and your financial interests, your business interests, your real property interests, your loans, and all of those things, so that if the public wants to find out what your economic interests are, they can.
You have the same disclosure requirements we do, right?
Absolutely.
So do you disclose all of your clients for your firm?
No, because I do not own more than 10% of my firm.
I see. I obviously do.
You do.
Okay.
Yeah. And then incompatible offices, we had a recent experience with this. That is the circumstance where a public official cannot hold two offices that supervise or contract with one another. And we recently enjoyed the privilege of being participants in a lawsuit pertaining to that. And I think you're all pretty familiar with incompatible offices. All right, so penal code violations. The big one, bribery, Penal Code 165. So, receiving or offering to receive consideration or a bribe with an understanding that your vote, opinion, judgment, or action will be influenced, given in a particular manner, or given to a particular side of a question on which you may be required to act in your official capacity. So that's the quid pro quo, right? That's the bribery. That's I'm going to give you $500 and you're going to vote for my CUP. Yeah, don't do that. That's criminal penalties. A violation can occur even without evidence that a specific action was pending. so long as it was a quid pro quo situation. So if you're saying you'll get my vote for whatever you bring before us, even if there's nothing specific, can still be a violation. Imprisonment for 2, 3, or 4 years, please don't do it. And there are other penal codes that pertain as well. So an example, a county supervisor was convicted of a bribery on the basis of transactions between the supervisor, his associates, and a land developer regarding cancellation by the county of an agricultural preserve agreement, even though at the time the payment was made, the agreement was not before the County Board of Supervisors. Okay, so it was a payment in advance. Can't do that either. Okay? All right. I'm scrolling. All right. We have Penal Code 518, extortion, using public position to obtain a personal benefit. So if you want to get anywhere in this town, you got to pay me. That's extortion. Don't do it. Government Code 89502, receiving honoraria, giving a speech, writing an article, or attending a public or private conference, convention, meeting, or social event is part of your duties, and you are not entitled in California to receive outside payment for these activities.
Boy, somebody ought to talk to the Supreme Court.
In California. Excessive expense reimbursement.
Wait a minute, go back to that last one.
Yeah.
Does that include the per diem individuals received for, like, ABTA?
No, no, no. No, you, in fact, the code specifically calls out compensation for attendance at meetings where you're serving on the board or a public body. That is different than giving a speech or attending a conference or convention. That is different, but thank you for clarifying. Excessive expense reimbursement. Expenses have to be actual and necessary for the performance of your official duties. You cannot be reimbursed for non-necessary expenses and excessive expenses. So the actual and necessary hasn't been litigated much. This is not a statute that has been the subject of really a lot of cases, but it is out there and you should be aware of it. Penal Code 420.
Okay, question.
Yeah.
So if we receive a stipend from the city that reimburses us for what we do throughout our monthly, and we're sick that month,
Okay.
and we take that compensation.
Yes, that is a stipend, though, not a reimbursement. So an excessive reimbursement would be.
I think ours is based upon reimbursement.
Your monthly pay that you get?
Yes.
We can research that, but
I think it's a
verify.
stipend.
I think it's pay.
I think,
It's
yeah,
taxed.
I think it's taxed as pay. I think
It's not,
a-
reimbursements aren't taxed.
Yeah. I think it is taxed. So I think you're okay there, but I will make a note to follow up on that. Then misappropriation of public funds. Shockingly, embezzlement of public funds is a crime. And under Penal Code 424, it is prohibited. So misappropriation of public money, don't do it. Government Code 8314, misuse of public resources. Using public funds, staff time, public equipment, and supplies for personal or political purposes is illegal. You can obviously use all of those things for the advancement of city projects and city events, but for your own personal gain is improper and a violation of 8314. All right, Government Code 54964, using public resources on ballot measure or candidate-related activities. Public officials, of course, can take positions on ballot measures in open meetings like this one, where everyone's point of view can be heard, but we cannot use public resources to engage in campaign-type advocacy with respect to those positions. So that's why we're always so very careful when there is a ballot matter to provide information rather than advocacy. That is the line we have to draw in those circumstances. Mass mailings at public expense. We cannot use public funds to pay for mass mailings as a stealth mode of campaigning. So tangible items that feature an elected officer affiliated with the agency's name, photograph, or signature. So that is the box in which we have to make sure all of the city's mailings fit. So the mass mailing statute is very technical and complicated, but this is the sort of overarching theme of it. And then the last one, the Constitution, Article 7, Section 7, it's a holdover from the time of the railroads coming through California, when the railroads were buying off local officials by giving them free transportation for life. And our Constitution forbids elected and appointed officials from accepting free passes or discounted travel from transportation companies. And I thought it was kind of amusing. All right.
So that's limited to transportation companies?
Yes. Yes. All right. Other code violations. Under Government Code Section 82015, all the little numbers, behested payments, so charitable contributions made on behalf or at the request of a government official have to be reported on Form 803 within 30 days of the date on which the payment meets or exceeds $5,000 from a single source in a calendar year. So if you're gathering charitable contributions and a single source provides more than $5,000 at your request or on your behalf, it needs to be reported. Okay? All right. Personal loans. Elected officials can't receive personal loan from any officer, employee, member, or consultant of the state or local government agency in which you hold office. So you cannot receive loans from staff. I don't know how that would come to happen, but you can't. And then everyone's favorite 84308. Not happening. Campaign contributions of $250 or more from a party or their agent or a participant or their agent requires recusal during the 12 months preceding and 12 months following an action. That's that recent legislation that's currently being challenged and is up on appeal, but it is still in effect, and the FPPC has said they're still enforcing. So that is why we make sure we provide to you the information regarding interested parties and the actions that come before you. All right.
But question,
Yes.
so that law went into effect January 1st of 2023.
Correct.
It does not include the previous 12 months. from
Correct.
that.
The regs that were issued by the FPPC stated that they will not be counting contributions made in 2022.
Correct.
Correct. Yeah, so effective January 1, 2023. So it's a forward-looking
That
law.
said behind in,
after January 1,
I'm just clarifying.
yes, of 2024, it will look backward and forward.
Okay,
Yes.
let's do the Public Records Act on a different,
You want to do the, okay, this was going to be very, very fast, this last slide, but
How
I can
fast?
finish it. How fast? We are required to disclose and maintain public records and disclose them, and please keep in mind that that includes records pertaining to city business that are transacted on your personal devices. So make sure that you're using your city email addresses.
okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
Council reports.
Let's do this for the record. Motion to receive and file.
Is there a second?
Second that?
It's unanimous. Council reports.
4th of July. Parks did a wonderful job. City staff did a wonderful job. You guys did great.
We have a video for it, right? Show the video?
Show the video.
city of Lancaster. I am Tiffany Johnson, joined here with some of our city officials. We are coming to you live from our annual firework extravaganza. Let's give it up.
Welcome, everybody. Tiffany did a great job. What you guys might not know is Tiffany is Miss California 2023. Welcome to the Antelope Valley.
We're not in the house. We're not covering up our faces in masks. We're not on Zoom. Let's shout out that we're here in person. That's a blessing.
Happy 4th of July, and thank you so much for being here. And you guys are going to have a blast tonight.
I always get dizzy when I do that.
Just for the record, Ken Mann's driving this.
Ladies and gentlemen, give a big round of applause for Levi!
Well, I'm excited to say that you all look very united tonight. Let's keep this united thing going. Thank you for being here tonight.
Buenas noches, Antelope Valley. Really happy to be here. Thank you. I want you to know that Assemblymember Tom Blackie and I are working to the improvement of the Antelope Valley and the entire high desert.
Your longest serving councilman, Mr. Ken Mann. He's been serving since Abraham Lincoln.
Hey, can I have all my veterans stand up? All my veterans, please stand up. Please stand up. We are only here today for these people right here that will give their lives for this country. Please honor them. Thank you.
And we pray right now, God, that you continue to allow this city, Palmdale, Lancaster, this valley to unify. In Christ Jesus' name we pray. Somebody shout amen.
Pastor Darrell Doris, can you remain standing? And we'll introduce the Lancaster Color Guard.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming?
Thank you very much, everyone, for coming out. We're going to give you a countdown. You want to do it, Tiff?
3, 2, 1. Happy 4th!
Good show. Thank you.
I will give a shout out, if I can interrupt real quick, the communications team. That was broadcast live, the entire show. So we had a significant amount of engagement and involvement, not only at the event, but also externally with people at home and outside of Lancaster that could watch our show and the events and activities happening. So shout out to the comms team. They did a great job.
So did we get a click rate, or we know how many people are watching?
Yeah, we do have that information. We'll share it with you.
Great. Thank you. We have the mayor of Burbank here with us today, right? Constantine, come on down. I saw you put in a card. I guess you had something. Yeah. Okay.
I thought that public comment was at the end.
Yeah. You're the mayor.
That's all right. Thanks. I appreciate it.
You guys
I can
don't
get-
mind, do you?
Thank you. I can get home early. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you taking my card. I wanted to come down just because I am the mayor of Burbank, yes, but more importantly, some of you may know this, I'm running for county supervisor in this area. Burbank, Glendale.
You do realize that we actually love Catherine.
No, I understand
We
that.
love her.
I get that. No, that's fine. I wanted to talk to you guys today about the incident that happened at Winco. and not specifically about the incident, but some of the stuff that's been going on in San Gabriel Valley and Santa Clarita Valley. There's a discussion happening right now at SCAG, at Cal Cities. They're looking at what's called the jury payouts for cases of sheriff deputies that have used excessive force. Normally, nobody would bat an eye at this. But since 2020, the jury payouts, specifically for LA County Sheriff's deputies, has increased 3,000%. 3,000%. One of the main reasons why small cities use the Sheriff's Department as a contract city instead of having their own police force, top reason is because it's cheaper. With these jury awards, both SCAG and Cal Cities are predicting within a year or two that it will no longer be cheaper to have sheriff's deputies. The insurance rates are going to start catching up. I bring that to you now so that you can take a look at what's going on in West Hollywood. They had their own police department. They went to a sheriff's contract. They wanted to save money. They are now looking at doing that back to getting their own police department again. I bring this up because, sure, in a year and a half, maybe your supervisor changes. I want to start that conversation now because if I get the seat, I want to be able to support the city of Lancaster in moving away from a contract city to having your own independent police department. I cannot tell you enough how amazing it is in our city to have our own folks in uniform who love working for our city. It's a very different relationship. I don't know how to explain it better, but it's really great. Glendale's the same way, Pasadena. So I'm available, I'm around. Thank you for having the meetings. Thank you for talking about all of the stuff that we're just talking about. These are big issues. We had a spate of that in our city a few years back. But yeah, it's all important stuff. So thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you to staff. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Hold on. There's some illogical argument in your position. Why would the verdicts be any different for a Burbank Police Department versus the County Sheriff's Department? It's really an anti-police sentiment that we're seeing with juries.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I don't see how that fixes that problem.
So local police departments, when you have local juries, they tend to favor smaller departments that have the name of the city that they're from. I don't know why. It's just the reality that we live in. Larger police departments like the sheriff's deputies, like LAPD, there is a sentiment, like you said, an anti-police sentiment that began with the George Floyd protests. It's been going on 3 years now. I can't explain it.
Started before then.
Well, probably.
Yeah.
I can't explain it. I'm just looking at the numbers. And that's what SCAG is looking at. That's what Cal Cities is looking at. They're not trying to explain why. They're just saying these are the departments that are getting hit with these huge jury awards. So
We'd have to see the analysis. We should probably do the analysis.
I think there's a combination of things, mayors. If one is the jury settlement, but also the more likelihood of settlement before it gets to trial, which we've seen in our liability trust fund is just skyrocketing in price. We got a 7% increase or something in the liability trust fund because a lot of these are not getting to jury and they're also settling more often for higher numbers. So that's maybe a factor as well. But we'd be happy to pull the numbers. We can share with you.
And then, of course, the delay is the insurance rates. They'll come later and they'll start to try to catch up on that money too. So
those darn lawyers.
Nothing but trouble.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet? Where am I at? No action on community choice or California Choice Energy Authority, no action on housing, no action on financing, no action on power authority, Now, Jason, you're up.
Yeah, it's just a quick update. You guys already covered the fireworks extravaganza, and I think Ken was going to talk about Neighborhood Watch, if you could.
Yes, I had the opportunity to represent the council at one of the neighborhood watch meetings. Mr. Riley, it was a housing area off of 20th Street East, and I think it was quite surprising to the homeowners to see a council member present. But I think we did a great job. We had Deputy Green there from the LA County Sheriff's Department, answered their questions, gave them a brief introduction about the new camera systems, as well as the opportunity to take a look at potentially, Mayor's, your recommendation on gating a particular area. And we went over the criteria with that, but well received. And I was quite surprised on a Saturday morning at 9 o'clock to see the number of residents in the neighborhood that came out and listened to the presentation. So hats off to Rod and his team. They did a great job. And I think everybody felt real comfortable when it was over, just the general consensus.
Thanks for coming out, sir. We appreciate that. This community appreciates that. And we want the community to know that we're trying to expand our neighborhood watch programs. I'm a 35-year law enforcement veteran, and I can tell you this is one of the most powerful tools out there to keep your community safe. So please reach out so we can get one going in your communities.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you. Okay.
And just one more thing, for parks, we've got cool summer nights, so tomorrow night, 4 to 7, the theme is 80s night. So Marvin, come dressed as you are.
You started it.
I did. I'm just surprised who jumped on.
That's all, sirs.
He'll pay.
Well, moving on. Anything else? Let's go to the speaker cards.
City Clerk.
This is the time to address the City Council Agency Authority on non-agendized matters. Speaker cards can be found on the back table of the council chambers. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each unless a different time limit is announced. State law prohibits the City Council from taking action on items not on the agenda, and your matter may be referred to the city manager. Thank you.
Thank you. David Paul.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, good evening. You know, I had the chance to meet the mayor of Burbank at another meeting for the COC, and we talked about police departments, and I told him then that that was my first impression as I came to town 25 years ago, that we should probably sometime get our own police department. Now, I love the sheriff's department, don't get me wrong. It's just that you can do so much more with local police and expand into neighborhood watches and all these things that knit a community together, and boy, do we need that. You know, I have been in the middle of this Winco incident, and I was at a meeting that I wanted to tell you about because I felt honored and blessed and happy when I left that such a thing is possible. I want to start by saying that there is no excuse, in that behavior of throwing a woman on the ground like that should never happen. There's no excuse. Now, how do we fix these things? We have to be able to talk without being angry, and that was what was so great about this meeting that Darrell Doris put on his church, because he brought in all the senior pastors from the entire Antelope Valley who listened and had questions and concerns, and I left with a commitment, everybody sense of their commitment to work together. That's what we really need to do. I had some silly idea, you know, people, the world is so crazy, and there's so much stuff with gender identity and all these things, And so my idea is something that is just put out there because it's almost laughable because of these fairness dictates and stuff, but I would like to see, and I can never really get an answer, what does the county's budget surplus look like? Is it billions? Because then you could certainly find 6 cars with 2 female deputies in each that go out, and if you're going to arrest a female or a senior citizen, send the women out to arrest them. That just makes sense to me, but that may be sexist, I don't know, in this world. But yeah, you can't manhandle people, and if you guys ever arrest me, be careful, because I break easy, so don't throw me down. I mean, and I'm kidding, because no one would do that. But I was so happy that a bunch of calm, mature people could get together in a room and work through some of these things, understanding the dynamic process that's in place, or dynamic is not the right word, the slow procedure that the county uses. So, but this will be litigated and adjudicated and solved, and in the meantime, we have a chance to say how modern policing will go. That's why I want us all working together, and I was very proud of Darrell Doris. He showed me a side of his leadership that I have not seen, so thank you for allowing me to be part.
Dave Freeman and Sandra Burke. I just got a pickleball paddle and some pickleball.
There you go.
I need to learn how to play.
There you go. Which one, sir?
What do you mean, which one?
Which brand?
I don't know. I got it from Amazon.
Come on. Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Council members, and staff. My name is Dave Freeman, and I represent the First Antelope Valley Pickleball Club. My board and several of our constituents are here with me tonight, and we just wanted to introduce us to you and thank the Parks and Rec Director for the presentation earlier today, or earlier during the meeting. Speaking to the choir, literally. We're a 501c7 sports social club with an elected board, and we represent over 175 active community players committed to building a very strong community and pickleball community here in Lancaster and the Antelope Valley at large. As most of you, I hope, know, pickleball is the fastest growing participation sport in the United States for the 3rd straight year. And that's not just due to COVID. 48 million plus adult Americans have played pickleball at least once in the last year, including your former vice mayor several times. 70% of players are ages 18 to 44, and youth, those that are 18 and below, are its fastest growing segment. There is a large and growing pickleball following here in the Antelope Valley, and virtually anyone can play regardless of age or athletic ability. It's a great way for seniors and really anyone to get or to stay fit. And as we know, post-COVID, so many people struggled with loneliness, lack of connection and community. And pickleball has the innate availability to fill those voids. It allows you to meet and connect with people you otherwise would never meet. And the numbers have clearly shown people are finding that connection and so much more in a game with a funny name. Our club's fundamental purpose is to support the growth of a healthy community. And our mission is to provide a fun, healthy recreational activity for all its members and guests while promoting exercise and the development of skills and enjoyment of pickleball. As Antelope Valley Pickleball Club president, I want to thank you, the council, the parks, for your vision, your leadership, your commitment to renovating the current park, the current courts, and expanding the number of pickleball courts that we have access to here at Steve Owens Memorial Park. Our club and its members, as of present tonight, are very excited to see this project happen, so much so that we're planning to host the very first pickleball tournament in Lancaster as soon as those courts are completed. Thanks very much for your time, and I'm glad to answer any questions you or the council may have.
So where do I go to learn to play pickleball?
Right here.
Right here.
Right there.
Introduce Joe and Patty DeGata, as you well know, sir, and many others in the community. Monday through Sunday, morning or evening, somebody's out there, especially Friday mornings, 7 to 10 o'clock in the morning. Come down there, and the community is there to receive you. Somebody will be there to help you play, because every single one of these people that have played, including myself, started somewhere with a paddle and a ball and a want to go figure it out or find out And somebody was there to say, here, let me show you.
And you play on a tennis court, right?
No, sir. Well, we do when they're striped off, but thanks to the city, we have 4 courts here at Steve Owens Park, and we're about to have 4 more. Whoop, yep, thank you again. Soon.
Are they smaller than a tennis court?
Yes, sir. So you could basically fit 4 courts in the size of a normal legal tennis court.
Really?
Absolutely.
So I can take my tennis court and turn it into 4 pickleball courts?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And have 4 times the amount of fun. And 4 times the amount of players.
Well, I don't have to run so far.
That's the bonus. But make no mistake, you can get a workout in, you can burn more calories in an hour of intense, or I should say maybe competitive, pickleball than you can on a treadmill.
So has there been any major tournaments in California?
That's a perfect question. Absolutely. Virtually monthly.
Yeah, wasn't there just recently
but
like
how do
a
we become
world?
like the pickleball center?
Say that again, Mayor?
How do we become the pickleball center?
By continuing to do exactly what you've already started with the 4 to the 8 to the 16 or to the 24, just like you did with a soccer stadium many years
I don't know
ago.
if you're aware of it, but the council is committed to playing pickleball, but they're committed for you guys to be able to do it indoors. Okay, so with that, we're building, it's a 140,000 square foot building at the fairgrounds, and it'll hold over 35 pickle courts in one area.
Yay! Well, then I tip my cap, Vice
You'd
Mayor.
have thought they had told me that.
What a segue, right? Couldn't have had better timing. The sport is exploding across the country, and between Florida, Washington, and California, they're really vying right now for who's on top with the most number of available courts and the most number of players.
Well, indoors is the most important part that we want to be able to do. It'll be accessible. It'll hold, how many basketball courts inside?
8.
8 basketball, that's how large it is. So,
Outstanding.
We'll be able to put, and that's our plan, is to have different leagues, but it's not only a different league with the city of Lancaster, it's throughout the entire Antelope Valley.
As is our reach as well to play, to find those players at Bear Valley Springs and Tehachapi and Bakersfield and do exactly that, to spread that message of health and fitness and activity and more importantly, or most importantly, connectivity.
We're looking to break ground of March of 24.
Outstanding. That's terrific news, Vice Mayor. That's terrific news. And if I may ask the council or the manager, do we have a timeline on that near project? I'm sorry.
He does good work, doesn't he? I'm really happy with the 24th.
We got to get you out on the court, Mayor.
Okay, I'm going to come out there.
Okay, tell you what, catch any of us tomorrow morning, 7:30? Or tomorrow evening after 5:30?
I can't announce when I'm coming.
Well, I tell you what, there'll be people there. There'll be players there, and they'll receive you, and they'll teach you, they'll help you, and they'll show you. They may even beat you.
Good.
Figuratively.
Okay.
That way.
I'm going to do it. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Here, I thought you were coming to yell at me.
Thanks, Dave. He did ask the timeline. Sonia, you might jump in on the timeline.
Of course. We're wrapping up a few final details on some contracts and hoping to be able to award those at the latest in September. So it's coming soon.
I mean, those are for the 4 new ones at the park.
It's actually larger than that. We're actually, it will add 4 additional pickleball courts, but we are renovating the entire tennis court, pickleball, new nets, new fencing, relocating stuff. It's a very significant project. So it's more than just a resurfacing project.
Good. We're on our way. That's great. Eugene Hernandez.
Eugene Hernandez, Antelope Valley Green Party. The last time I was here was to bring up the subject of a sheriff deputy who tackled a tiny little black girl at Lancaster Hospital, at Lancaster High School, and straddled her. And now, of course, this incident at Winkles has received nationwide exposure. And what it exposes is that Sheriff Deputy Kirk has had a long history of violations such as that. And the city of Lancaster, with the sheriff station, has the sheriff gang, the Rattlesnakes, which controls this station. And $84 million of the county budget has gone to pay for lawsuits that the sheriff deputy department has created through deaths and brutality. And I feel that these are unnecessary taxpayer expenses at the expense of a sheriff department which is out of control. Those people who got beaten up at Winkles were not doing nothing more than shoplifting. There was no reason to grab the woman and throw her to the floor, and she was a cancer patient, and she just had eye surgery, and for the sheriff department to spray mace into her eyes, and he was ready to punch this old woman. I mean, what kind of thinking goes into the sheriff's department that they can utilize brutality on such a trivial incident? They were not robbing the store. They were not murderers. That was uncalled for, just as the young girl who was tackled by the sheriff's department in Lancaster High School was uncalled for. The captain of the sheriff's department here should be fired. He is allowing this brutality to go on within his ranks. He is allowing the sheriff's gang to go on without restraint. He is allowing people like this Officer Kirk to do this brutality without any punishment whatsoever. This is a black mark on the city of Lancaster. That video has been seen from here to New York and beyond. You got to put a stop to this kind of brutality, to fire the sheriff captain, to fire the sheriff who did this brutality, and to break up the sheriff gangs. Thank you very much.
Willie Green. Mr. Green, it's been a while.
Yeah, it has been. I miss these meetings.
We've missed you.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, staff, I'll try to stay within the 3-minute limit. If I exceed, I ask for your indulgence. On May 27th, I reported a hit and run. At 6:14, I called the sheriff's station. He asked me if anyone was injured. I said no. The individual that hit me kept going. So the deputy explained that since it wasn't any injuries, that it might take 2 hours. I gave him my name, my phone number, my address. Today, I have not heard from him. Today, at 12:56, I called the station to speak with whoever was in charge of the desk. I got a recording. I left my message. I left my name. I left my phone number. Never received a call. When I reported the hit and run, I wasn't given a log number or a tag number to do a follow-up. That should be automatic because most people don't know that they can get a tag number to do a follow-up. Now, I support law enforcement. I'm the neighborhood watch captain at the complex in which I live. But I find that the resentment of law enforcement comes from being ignored. And that's a bad feeling. And you see these cars, and they have on them protect and serve. That's a broad statement. People rely on that statement. And when they don't get it, they have an adverse way of thinking. And I think that simply getting a tag number to follow up on a report made should be an automatic thing. And being ignored is just terrible. And that's part of the problem with our citizens and law enforcement. And I feel that someone should look into it and
Mr.
see.
Green, we're going to do that. Rod, I want you to pull the tape of the tape where he reported it. I want you to find out what went wrong and fix it, okay?
Yes, sir. Can I speak to you afterwards, Mr. Green?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. And I apologize that that happened.
But it wasn't you that took the call.
Ultimately,
but I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Fran?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of our council, and all the staff, and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fran Sarasaris, and first of all, I want to say about, maybe it's already been corrected, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. The lighting at Heroes Park, the whole park area has been black and no lights are on, unless they fixed them as of last night, but there's no lights. And it's totally dark. I mean, pitch dark. Okay, that's that. Now I wanted to share with you, I'm in charge of a program at a senior center in Lancaster, Antelope Valley Senior Center. I have a group, and we're called the Writers on the Move. And they're a group of seniors. We get together once a month, and the whole idea of the program, which I am in charge of, is to teach or help the seniors understand transportation between here and downtown LA. How to use the Metrolink, how to use the bus lines down below. I did this before COVID. Then we had to stop because of COVID. I did it about 2 years before that. So I've been doing it for a while. So now my group is coming back together again. Right now I already have, my old ones came back. I've got 20 people so far, and it's growing. And this coming Thursday, we're going to Burbank, to the Burbank Museum, in which we get on the Metrolink, and we go wherever we're going to go. We come back on the Metrolink. It's all a one-day outing, and they like it because it gets them out. I just thought I'd share that with you. And I love doing it, as you know. I like I love what I do. I thank you very much for everything you do for all of us. I can't tell you in my heart how appreciated I am. Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. Okay. So, it's been a very difficult week. I've been cautioned not to say anything about it, but you know me. I don't think that that would be appropriate. You know, I believe that people, for the most part, at least 98% of them, 98% of it's easy. We make the very best decisions we can, given our experiences, given our background, given the circumstances we're in. And it's hard for me to look at people as intrinsically bad or intrinsically evil or intrinsically mean-spirited, because I don't think we are. I think God made us to be loving creatures. And when I see what happened at Winco, I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed that this happened in our city, and it shouldn't have happened. I also, not even however, I also think that it is wrong to rush to judgment without knowing all the facts, without having a thorough investigation. I'm very encouraged by Sheriff Luna's response. You know, he immediately took everybody out of the field to make certain that if there was a problem, it wasn't going to affect anyone else. That was really hard to look at. It was really hard to see that happen. There's no excuse for it. But as a council, it's our job to look upstream, meaning, why did it happen? You know, why? I think there's a lot of whys here, a lot of them. Part of the problem was Winco. What are they doing calling in a robbery in progress for a cake? For somebody shoplifting a cake? How is that okay in anybody's book? You know, let's think what happens when a police officer on his radio gets a call, robbery in progress. If it was me, my heart would be racing. Just the drive from wherever they are to that Winco parking lot, that's where most police officers get killed in the line of duty. Most of them get killed in traffic accidents responding to calls, emergent calls of that nature. Why was that call made? Turns out there's been an increase in shoplifting calls being, what do they call it, upticking them or upgrading them? Upgrading the call to get a faster response. So what did we see happen? Well, we all saw what happened. Would it have happened had that call not come in that way? I don't know. I don't know. But what I would like us to do is look into an ordinance. Somebody upticks a call like that, I think that there should be a significant fine. We should do it as maybe an administrative, whatever we call those things, so we don't have to have a full-blown prosecution.
Administrative citation.
But I want it stopped. I mean, I want it stopped today. Look at what can happen when something like that occurs. I don't want anybody, and I know it's going to, social media is going to be coming at me saying that I'm making excuses or that and I'm just not. I want to change the procedures so that these things don't occur in the future. I don't know this officer's background. I'm waiting to find out. You know, was there warning signs? You know, I was as concerned, I think, as anybody else. But I'm also convinced that this is not the normal course of business in this city. We've made incredible progress as to way things might have been in the past as compared to where they are now. And to paint a broad brush and say the whole department is somehow at fault for this, I'm sorry, I don't see it. What I see is a department that took immediate action, started an immediate investigation. In fact, I thought they acted a little too fast. Once they were taken out of the field, I didn't see the reason for the rapid decisions. But that is not my purview. That is the sheriff's purview. I will respect his decisions. Until I see, I mean, this is a new sheriff, and so far, I find him very impressive. And I would like you all to give him a chance, because it's a new day. He has new ideas. He's extremely innovative. I'm actually excited for the city to work with him. And I would hate for one incident, and I know there's been other incidences, but this is a new day. This is a new sheriff. He's bringing in his own command structure. He's making different decisions. And it's just wrong for us to paint the whole department because of this incident. I think we should give him a chance to make whatever changes need to be made, with also the recognition that be careful what you ask for. I mean, seriously, the role of government is to keep us safe. That is the primary role of government. Everything else is extra. You know, I think we do a really good job with the extras, like the pickleball. I think we do really decent stuff. But the primary role is to keep us safe. Those guys are under incredible pressure. We could be more supportive. We could be more understanding of the job they have. The other thing I would like us to, I think the city should maybe take a different role in how we deal with these situations. One is, you know, so much of their time, the reason Mr. Green can't get a response is because so much of their time is answering burglar alarms where, I mean, there's not a problem. We just know there's not a problem. That is something we now have the ability to deal with artificial intelligence, to prioritize those calls. What is the likelihood of somebody actually doing something with these parameters? I don't think we can wait any longer for the county to fund this stuff. I think we have to. I think we have to do whatever's necessary to improve the response of law enforcement in the city. And I would hope that we use this incident as a beginning place of understanding this is more than one deputy. This is an overworked police department, undermanned police department. You know, last meeting I was telling you about a witness I had on the stand who was a deputy. He'd had 4 hours sleep in the last 48 hours, and he had to come and testify. I mean, what world thinks that's okay? It's not okay. We have to fix this. We have to have a fully manned sheriff's department. We have to quit working these guys unbelievable. I mean, I asked him, I said, well, what did the deputies think if we took that overtime away? And he said, we're tired of working that long, that many hours, week after week. This is on us. This is on us. It's not on them, you know? I wish I had really easy solutions, but I don't. But we're going to start. We're going to start whittling away at it, you know? Remember we were having those discussions about driving while black. Let's call it what it is, right? And we talked about how that has more to do with dispatching than the individual officer. We could spend the money and have AI prioritize calls. Also, to make the determination, when is there sufficient information to put out the call, based upon the level of the crime. I mean, if it's a murder or a rape, okay, some people are going to have to put up with being pulled over. But barring that, there should be sufficient information that you don't feel victimized by it. But when everybody in the whole commission all has had the same experiences, it troubles me. But shouldn't we be looking at the procedures rather than thinking that it's just evil-minded people? Because I don't think it is. I think it's people pretty much do what they're trained to do. I would like us to take a much more proactive role in this because I, quite frankly, don't want to see another video like that in our city. It was unnecessary, totally unnecessary. And, and I'm still concerned about the officer who didn't appear to do anything wrong. Why is he being sucked up into this? I thought the way the man was arrested was a pretty good arrest. Nobody got hurt. Nobody, I also could see, though, why, if that was me being arrested, my wife would be going crazy. I don't think she was acting any differently than a lot of wives would act. I'm rambling now because I'm struggling for solutions to all this. But I would hope that we could all start looking at this with a little bit more compassion for everybody, for everybody. I don't know the story about what they were doing and if they were shoplifting or not shoplifting. I don't know the answer to that. But I know it seemed like a lot of people got caught up into something horrible that was unnecessary. And I'm confident that the sheriff will have a report that fully deals with it. Have I said enough? Now, Brittany, I know everybody told me to keep my mouth shut and not say a word. But now at least you know how I feel about it. So we have a closed session, right? We don't have a closed session. Good. Well, then I'm going to let everybody go home. Carol, my day is done and I'm coming home. The next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 8th, 2023 at 5 p.m. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming.